Hello, and welcome to this presentation on cybersecurity in a critical care setting. My name is Trenton, and today we're going to be discussing in further detail some potential system attacks, as well as the bad actors associated with those attacks that might be performed against the hospital. I want to remind you that these key points in discussion are directly associated with cybersecurity in our oncology setting. So before we begin discussing our attack examples, I would like to address the differences between a vulnerability and a threat, as they do have their own distinct definitions and characteristics. So in this analogy, let's use a computer that lives in the hallway where you work, and you walk away from that computer without logging out. Your exposed computer is now considered a vulnerability. So a vulnerability is basically a weakness or a flaw that could be exploited to cause harm. It doesn't actually cause the harm directly on its own, but it does create the opportunity for something damaging to occur. Now, a threat is anything that has the potential to exploit a vulnerability and cause harm. So in this case, if an individual were to come up to your computer that you left without logging in and was able to look up some unauthorized patient records because you left your computer in a vulnerable state, that individual is what's considered a threat. So now that we've got that distinction out of the way, let's talk a little bit more about threat actors. So what exactly is a threat actor? You ask. Well, these actors are individuals or groups like cyber criminals, hacktivists, or script kiddies. They focus on targeting systems for various reasons. Their motives can range from financial gain to political causes, exposing individual, or just plain for fun. So regardless of the reasoning, a sound knowledge of their intent and their capabilities is going to allow us to distribute resources that are going to protect our organization from these potential threats. Now, let's talk about a couple of examples of some certain types of attacks that a threat actor might perform against the hospital. And we're going to go from the least serious to the most serious. We're going to start with cyber criminals. Now, cyber criminals are typically financially motivated and can generally escalate from low impact nuisances or opportunistic fraud to highly damaging safety critical intrusions. So at the low end are scams like phishing emails that are going to aim basically to harvest staff logins or access payment data. These are mainly going to enable further access or fraud and are going to cause limited immediate disruption. But as we move forward, we can arrive at our web payment fraud or card skimmers, compromised payment pages or invoice fraud. This leads to direct financial loss, of course, and regulatory exposure. Now, as we rise in severity, our data exfiltration and targeted espionage. These attackers are going to quietly siphon sensitive patient records, our research data, or employee information, and use that to sell or to blackmail individuals or groups or the hospital. Some more severe instances are ransomware campaigns that can encrypt critical systems like our EHR, imaging that we take for patients. This causes major operational outages and surgical cancellations and high recovery costs. And as we near the top are what's known as double extortion attacks, where criminals both encrypt our systems and then threaten to publish that stolen PHI. This is going to dramatically increase legal reputation for us, ramifications, and financial harm. And the most serious cyber criminal scenarios are going to combine extensive lateral movement and manipulation of clinical data or collaboration with insiders to alter medication orders. They could falsify records or just disrupt our medical devices. So in turn, this directly endangers our patients, which is why that's always going to be at the top of our list of threats. So as you can see, the potential for serious consequences for cyber criminals is quite vast. Now let's talk about another type of threat actor, hacktivists. Hacktivist attacks have the potential to escalate in severity as they're going to move from low impact publicity stunts to highly disruptive or even dangerous operations. So, at the least serious level, hacktivists may engage in public campaigns or social media shaming, which aim to damage a hospital's reputation without directly breaching its system. But from there, it can progress to some low skill nuisance attacks like distributed denial of service or DDoS attempts or spam campaigns that are going to slow down our online services. As these attacks intensify, hacktivists might deface the hospital's website or display political messages, leak non sensitive staff information, or known as doxing, to embarrass the organization. Now, more serious still are incidences where attackers can steal and release patient or staff data, creating legal, regulatory, and ethical repercussions for us. Now, in severe cases, hacktivists could compromise our critical systems through ransomware or lateral network movement. This is going to disrupt our electronic health records and our clinical operations. And at the most extreme level, attackers could manipulate our medical devices, our records, our hospital control system. This is also going to endanger our patient safety, which is once again why it's going to be at the top. This escalation lets us know that hacktivist motivations are varied and often rooted in ideologies or publicity, and it can evolve from digital protests to actions with some real-world, life-threatening consequences. Another attacker we're going to talk about are called inside attackers. Inside attacks can escalate from these minor mistakes to life-threatening sabotage. At the lowest level, they can begin with some accidental data exposure. It could be a missent email or a misconfigured file that gets shared, and this is often caused just by human error, which mostly creates privacy and compliance problems. But next comes some negligent misuse, like improper use of privileged accounts or downloading unauthorized software, which increases the chance of credential theft and lateral spread. This situation worsens when insiders deliberately abuse access to steal PHI or intellectual property for financial gain or identity fraud. This creates some serious legal, financial, and reputational damage for us. A targeted sabotage, like deleting our backups or altering scheduling or altering medication orders, corrupting our EHRs. This is also going to disrupt our operations, and ultimately it's going to delay our patient care. Now, the most dangerous insider scenarios involve intentional manipulation of our clinical systems or our medical devices, which, as you guessed, is going to cause direct harm to our patients or can enable some really large scale compromises for us. So these pose direct threats just to us and to our organization and can be catastrophic with severe, life-threatening consequences. So cancer patients in this setting have a really distinct level of care required that must be followed in a timely manner, from diagnostics to radiation, chemotherapy treatments, and cybersecurity is a priority when it comes to maintaining patient trust and their care continuity. So in an environment that prioritizes both timing and patient confidentiality, a breach of sensitive information could interrupt some critical life-saving treatments for our patients and compromise our reputation as an organization. So it's in this mindset that we need to ensure that our constant professional training is always going to be at the forefront. So to protect ourselves against cyber threats, healthcare systems should continuously incorporate healthy access protocols, utilizing our multi-factor authentication access tools, and regularly monitor the individuals with limited or unauthorized access. Frequent educational tests such as phishing emails, digital security education should be a consistent method that we use to keep our staff on alert for potential cyber threats. We're all human, which means that mistakes can be made. But in an appropriate amount of education and a utilization of our technical security features, we can continue to maintain a secure, reliable sanctuary for our patients to feel safe, both physically and digitally. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation. Be safe out there, and thank you.